From the Opopco Studios in Oklahoma City, this is the Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Mike Sherman, standing in for a vacationing Barry Trammell. But we've got breaking news. The coaches poll is out for college football. So it's time to play a little too high, too low, or just right. Let's start with OSU's ranking, Mike. Cowboys come in at number 14 in the coaches poll. Too high, too low, or just right?
Jenny, I'm going to go with just right. I looked the poll over. I was trying to slide the Cowboys up, tried to slide them down. I really couldn't. I mean, I think they're just right. I think unless we're ready to suspend disbelief about their defense, they've kind of got to show it. And so with a defense that's still a question mark, I think 14's just about right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any problem with 14 for the Cowboys. I think they've got the potential to go much higher. If that defense comes together like it looks like it could, definitely there's a lot of reason to believe the offense is going to be really good. But, you know, you look at the teams ahead of them, right ahead of them, LSU, Florida State, Notre Dame, Louisville, as you sort of climb up the top 25. I think all of those teams are probably about where they should be. So I don't have a problem with OSU's ranking at number 14 in the coaches poll. What about OU's ranking, Mike? Too high, too low, or just right at number 16?
I might say just a little too high. In fact, I just flipped TCU and OU. Again, talk about a questionable defense. We're told that OU will use linebackers this year on the field, so that would be helpful. All jokes aside, that's the same reason I have questions about the Sooners. I think Blake Bell's going to be the quarterback, but I think their defense has got a lot of proving to do. I'd flip TCU and the Sooners, keeping the Sooners in the poll, but a little bit lower.
I think they are too high. And, you know, the Cowboys were 14, Texas was 15, Oklahoma was 16, TCU was 20. I think TCU deserves a spot ahead of Texas and Oklahoma, but as we often see in these preseason polls, name and tradition get you a long ways, and I think Texas and Oklahoma, while they do have a lot of promising players, a lot of promise on their teams, I think that their name recognition is in large part, it gained them a couple spots. I think it gained them a couple spots, especially against a team like TCU. All right, Mike, overall this poll, let's look at the whole poll. Who is the most overrated on this coach's ranking?
Well, I'm going to get Aggie Nation mad at us again. They were bombarding you with emails when nobody on our staff voted for Johnny Football to win the Heisman. That was what they were mad about last time. They'll be mad today when I say I think the Aggies are overrated. I think they lost a lot of guys. They lost some big-time offensive tackles. It's not been the best off-season for Johnny Football. I think having the Aggies there at 6, maybe a little bit high. We'll see. That I would say they're a tad overrated. I'd put them at the bottom of the top 10, maybe 11, but I think they might do for a little bit of a comeuppance.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. And A&M actually at number 6, they got one first place vote. So clearly some coaches out there who think pretty highly of Texas A&M. I'm going to go with a pick that will make you angry, Sherm. That's Notre Dame at number 11. I think the Irish are a little bit overrated. I'm not saying drop them out of the top 25, but questions at quarterback. Obviously, they lose their great defensive leader in Manti Te'o. You know, I think they're still going to be a good team, but whenever you're playing Notre Dame's schedule, that was what was so amazing about what they did last year, to run the table with that tough schedule that they always have. And now you've got questions at a variety of positions. I think 11 might be a little high for Notre Dame.
Especially for a team that lost its quarterback.
Yeah.
And they're breaking in a guy they didn't want to play last year.
Definitely. All right, what about underrated, Sherm? Who's the most underrated team on this year's top 25?
It's impossible, I guess, for an SEC team to be underrated these days, but I think LSU is a little low. I mean, the Tigers are at 13. It seems to me they've been, and I know they've got some turnover. I know they got some question marks, but that's a program, and to have them outside the top 10 looked a little bit low. The other one I would say, underrated, Louisville. I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to make a strong run for the Heisman. I think if Louisville was in one of these power conferences, maybe you'd have them. But they're in a conference where they can make some hay. I like Louisville to surprise people.
I think Louisville's underrated. I think also, and they come in at number 9. I think the team right ahead of them, Clemson at number 8, maybe a little bit underrated. You know, you saw what they did in their bowl game last year, and I'm not basing it just on bowl game because they got Taj Boyd coming back and have some really good talent. I could see them potentially running the table, you know, in their league. I think they've got a chance to do that and make a strong push for a case to be in the national championship game. I think at 8, they could be slightly underrated as well. All right, last question. It's got to be about the SEC, right? SEC's got 6 teams in the top 25, and all of them are ahead of any Big 12 team Is all this SEC love warranted?
All of the love is not warranted. I mean, not all of it, but in the poll, I would say yes. I mean, I don't see Mississippi State in here. I don't see Vanderbilt in here. I don't see Ole Miss. I think that's when we'd be getting to extremes. They probably received a lot of votes, some of them. I don't have that on my sheet right here. But I really think that the teams represented here, 6 SEC teams, sounds about right.
Yeah.
It's a good conference, folks.
Yeah, 6 teams in the top 13 is what we're talking about. So, virtually half there in that top. Some other teams did get votes. We looked at it before we came on the air here, and I think there were only 3 of the 14 SEC teams that didn't receive votes, but they didn't make the top 25, anybody else out of the league. So you've got 6 really good teams, and it's hard to argue really with any of them. I mean, I think Texas A&M may be a little high, but they still belong in the top 10. You look at Georgia, a team that they come in at number 5. Hard to argue with that. Alabama at number 1, obviously impossible to argue with that. So I hate to say it if you don't like the SEC, but I think the SEC got spots right about where they deserved them. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoma.